I welcome you to this first webinar to inform about the opportunity for engagement and to inform about the call for proposals and abstracts and to answer any questions you may have. We foresee this webinar to take approximately 45 minutes, and at the end of the webinar we're going to be able to answer questions you may have, how to engage in the conference and how to sharpen and develop your proposals and abstracts. I'm very proud today to welcome with me also a colleague from UN Environment, Sharon Gill, a program manager from the cities team based in Paris. And she's our special guest today, and she will also assist us running through the webinar and the presentation. We will have three main topics we're going to deal with today. First is the background and overview, giving you a short recap of the conference. Second point is presenting opportunities for participation, for your participation. And the third point, the last 10 minutes are reserved for questions and answers. So I will now give the floor to our special guest, Sharon Gill, to give us a short background on the conference and to walk us through the first part of the webinar.
Thank you, Marcus. My video is not on. Is that working?
I can hear you. I can hear
you. For some reason, I cannot share my screen.
Maybe I can do something.
Is that working?
I see you now.
Excellent. So can you see the presentation?
Maybe I'll share the presentation and you let me know when I switch to the next.
Okay, all right. That might be better. Okay. So we're here to talk about the Cities and IPCC conference, which is the first of its kind. And we're very honored to be part of the organizing committee for this conference. The conference, the background of the conference is, of course, the growing recognition of the role of cities in addressing climate change impacts and addressing climate change impacts. In its 43rd session in Nairobi, the IPCC has placed a renewed focus on cities and will produce a special report on cities and climate change. For this reason, IPCC is co-organizing together with a group of other partners, including UN Habitat and UN Environment, a conference on cities and climate change. Next slide, please. I feel that this conference is very exciting because it aims to inspire the next frontier of research, which is focused on the science of cities and climate change. So we're really looking for something innovative and something that will push the boundaries of research. Next slide, please. So its goal is to add to knowledge and not just academic knowledge, but also practice-based knowledge related to cities and climate change. We're looking at both the global research agenda, but also looking at and urban policymaking communities. So how do we translate theory into practice? The outcome of this conference would be to co-produce knowledge based on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Cities globally, and also referencing other international agreements, especially the New Urban Agenda. Next slide, please. So this conference will have 4 themes in total. The first 2 cover a lot of capacity building. First, theme 1 on looking at capacity building at the city level of city practitioners, in sharing of mitigation adaptation knowledge, enhancing capacity, especially gaps in how do we address and how do we uh, fulfill our global commitments. The second theme on the science and practice of cities focuses on the science behind climate action. So how do we quantify, for example, or further understand the impact of greenhouse gases and short-lived climate pollutants? What exactly is the impact of urban areas or increased urbanization to this? Next slide, please. The next 2 themes is forward-looking. We're looking at solutions for the transition to low carbon and climate resilient cities and enabling this transformative action in cities. So theme 3 focuses on identifying what are the specific solutions available and what are the future solutions available. So we're looking for ideas. How do we reimagine the cities that we are going to build in the future? How do we transform our existing cities to these kind of cities that we imagine in the future? Theme 4, enabling transformative climate action in cities, means advancing science and advancing cities. So these sessions and papers in these themes may address policy. What are the obstacles? What are the policy obstacles? How do we, in practice, support our leaders and political leaders and city practitioners to translate the solutions that we identified in theme 3 into. So back, Marcus.
Thank you very much, Sharon, for this helpful background on the conference and giving us an overview of the themes and the goals and outcomes of this conference. I would like to now focus on the second point we wanted to discuss today, on how you, dear participants, can participate in the conference. And we're receiving a lot of questions on potentials for engagement, on how you can shape the discussion. And there are basically 6 different ways that you can engage in the Cities and Climate Change Conference. The first one is to organize a conference session. The second one is to give a short oral presentation, an intervention. There will be an exhibition space, so you can plan a poster presentation, or you can participating as a speaker or as a participant in the dialogue and discussion during the conference. There will be an online discussion leading up to and during the event on social media and the like. And of course, we are all hope that you come to Edmonton and support us and participate in the conference to follow the discussion. The first point, there is an open call for proposals open until the 6th of October. This is a call for proposals for conference sessions. We are looking to invite proposals for a 90-minute dedicated session, which we hope incorporates a knowledge exchange among the 3 main target groups: the scientific community, the practitioner community, and the policy-making community. These proposals should focus on one or more of the 4 conference themes that Sharon has just mentioned. And of course, we encourage contributions from various regions as well as from young and early career scientists. And these formats, they can vary. For example, one could have a science practice policy session where the different stakeholder groups meet and communicate on around certain topics. It could be a discussion session with practitioners, policymakers, and based on a particular city, a particular urban region, or a particular country. This can have a World Cafe character to explore a particular sub-theme, or this could be a workshop style, small breakout group that can present back to the wider audience a solution or an issue or a problem. We can showcase stories, experiences of cities, activists, policymakers, communities, individuals, or any other innovative session format and concept that supports the conference outcomes, and the conference theme is highly encouraged. So your creativity is open. It's open-ended. It should be open-ended. In this proposal, which has to be submitted by the 6th of October, please identify which conference theme your session relates to. Provide the session title, a catchy title to be able to identify your theme. Outline the main aim of the session. Describe the session and the concept in a short manner. Provide the names of the organizers, their affiliation and contact information so that we can contact you back in case we have further questions. Please list all planned confirmed contributors and participants in the session with their roles, and describe the session format and the working method. And please elaborate how the session design and content contributes to delivering the conference objective. Another way to engage, short of organizing a full session, would be to organize an oral presentation or a poster presentation. I mentioned there is an exhibition space dedicated for poster presentations. And these short presentations, in case they are just oral presentations, they also should relate to the conference theme and can have the format of a scientific presentation, an elaboration of the lessons learned, or a case study, or a best practice. Again, here, if you wish to do an oral presentation, please submit an abstract summarizing your proposed contribution and which theme the contribution falls under. We accept oral presentations, and these will be organized into sessions by the scientific steering committee. So please, again here, please just submit your proposal to the conference website. And last but not least, the poster presentation. Again, this can have the format of a scientific poster presentation. This could be an interactive electronic display of a poster, and this will be highlighted across the whole duration of the conference. When you plan to submit an abstract for one or few of the different session formats, it is very important, because we are expecting a high number of applications, to be precise and to present as much information as possible. We need the names of the authors, the affiliation and contact information, names of co-authors, names of co-participants, which conference themes your abstract addresses, what type of contribution you wish to make, and a small, short abstract summary. There is likely the need to merge or join sessions, and this abstract will help us not only identify what your session aims at, but also if there's room for combining it with other sessions that are proposed to give everybody the chance to be present. Please also make a short comment on how your contribution will help delivering the conference objective. And if you're preparing a poster, please indicate if you wish to present on a more traditional paper-based poster presentation, or which want to take advantage of an electronic display. The key details for your contribution, I hope you have already seen our now live website, www.citiesipcc.org. The deadline for acceptance of proposal again is the 6th of October 2017. I think it is Central European Time, midnight. These proposals can be submitted over the website. The notification of the outcome will be on the 1st of December. the Cities and Climate Change Science Conference. Again, it will take place in early March 2018, 5 to 7 in Edmonton, in the Alberta province of Canada. And now, I hope you have a good overview of how you can engage in the conference. We have invited via Twitter questions leading up to the conference, and we have actually received 2 questions, which we are going to take first, and then we're going to take questions of the audience. So the first question is, if there is support and scholarships for young professionals. I will answer that myself. There are limited opportunities for supporting early career scientists in attending the conference. All of the conference supporters are supporting the participation of young scientists and scientists from developing countries. So the World Climate Research Program has a scholarship program for young career scientists. We at UN Habitat, we are going to support a number of scientists from the developing world. So if you are planning to bid for a session, or if you wish to participate, please also indicate in your proposal if there is need for support and what that support would entail. Thank you very much. The second question, the outputs of the conference. The Scientific Steering Committee, which is the main body developing the themes and the scientific follow-up from the conference, has already prepared a list of potential outputs. There will be, of course, a conference report developed based on all the outcomes of the different sessions. The main goal of the conference is to assess the current state of knowledge and science, so there will be a stock-taking exercise. And at the same time, this conference aims to identify gaps in the science of cities. So there will also be some form of gap analysis that will help us to define the future research agenda and help to direct research into areas that are presently unresearched. And last but not least, Sharon has mentioned it very well, that in the next assessment cycle of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, there will be a special report on cities and climate change. And we expect some of the findings, if not many, of the findings of this conference will influence the next IPCC special report on cities and climate change, and potentially, although this is open to the scientists, of course, also influence other IPCC reports. These are the 2 questions we have received through the Twitter route. So now I would open the floor to the participants on the call. We have 14 participants who state any open questions you may have. Please state quickly your name, the organization you're affiliated to, and your question. I will now unmute everybody, so please slide. We have received some questions through the chat. The question is, who will review the papers submitted for presentations? So who will review the abstract? As I mentioned, there is a scientific steering committee based on comprising 18 to 20 high-profile scientists, and there is a peer review process already in place to review all these suggested sessions, and so you can trust that there is a very professional scientific peer review process that will take care. Any further questions from the participating audience? Any questions? Now the time. You can, I have received another question through the chat box, which is if we can disseminate the call for proposals. The call for proposals is online on the website, so please share it with as many people as possible. Share it with your colleagues in your professional networks, and all the participating agencies I know have already done so. So please feel free to widely share and circulate. Any more questions from the participants? Please unmute yourself and state your question. That is not the case, then I will just thank you all for attending. The conference is currently organized by 11 core partners, of which the environment, thank you, Sharon, and two of the partners. Further partners are C40 City, the Cities Alliance, of course the host city, the City of Edmonton, Future Earth, ICLAY, the IPCC, UCLG, SDSN, and WCRP. If you have any questions and are in contact with any of these organizations, please feel free to reach out to any of the partnering organizations. Please, you can pose questions through the website function and find our contact details on the website. If there are no further questions, then we will end the webinar, and I thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you very much, Marcus.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, I have one question.
Please go ahead.
There are two different body which deals with the science and the policy for climate and biodiversity. One is IPCC, International Panel on Climate Change. This deals with science and policy for the climate change. The other one, International Panel on Science and Policy on Biodiversity. Having said that, you clearly explained the expected outcome of next year's conference. With these outcomes, do you expect to establish some kind of international panel on the as you see climate change to deal with the science and the policy on climate issues in particularly in cities, or it is will be mainly focusing on the themes which you already mentioned, or any kind of a panel which focus on climate issues on in cities.
Thank you very much for these questions, and I will try to answer. First of all, the IPCC, as far as I understand, is the leading body on science in terms of climate change, and has the lead role in advising the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change on science-related matters. So it is focused on science. The policy is then decided in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the UNFCCC, in the climate negotiation process. So I would rather shift the focus to science and not science and policy. Then in terms of biodiversity, because you mentioned that, clearly biodiversity questions are very relevant in the whole climate change discourse. But there is a separate convention on biodiversity that has their own scientific bodies and their own policy mechanism. So I would again also here draw a thin line between the two topics. While they are both relevant and clearly related, there are different global architectures for both. Then that just as a short reaction to your introduction. Then on the outcome, we have mentioned a little bit the outcomes, and you highlighted if we expect if there's a panel to be created specifically on advising on policy on cities and climate change.
City climate change. Yeah.
Yes. So again, there is the IPCC is looking at the whole range of topics within the climate change field, not only cities. However, this is a topic of growing concern and growing focus, and this is why this special report will be prepared. And I'm sure there will be a dedicated group or a panel, as you may name it, dedicated to produce that report. That would be the closest to a dedicated panel on cities and climate change. While this will also include scientists from other fields of study, and also these scientists dedicated to cities and climate change will work on other fields. So this is a fluid and flexible mechanism. I could inquire with our colleagues from the IPCC specifically, and then come back to you with a more detailed answer. Just,
please.
Just as a
Hi,
last
Marcus.
point, go ahead, please, Sharon, if you have something to add.
I would
finish your
appreciate that. Yeah.
Do finish your sentence. Sorry, I thought you were finished.
No, I was finished more or less. I just wanted the last point is the 4 themes, because you also asked about these 4 themes, if there are others to be decided. These 4 themes are so broad that a lot of sub-themes could fit under them. So we believe that this is pretty much covering the range of topics we would like to address.
Very good. Yeah, thank you very much.
Now it's over to you.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's also important for us to highlight the presence of UN Environment in the organizing committee. Our role as an institution is really to bridge the science and policy interface on global environmental issues. So we liaise on several topics with scientific bodies. So on climate change, we liaise with the IPCC, on biodiversity laws with the IPBES, on hazardous substances on hazardous substances, we have assessments under the Basel Convention, ozone depletion, the scientific assessments under the Montreal Protocol. And on resource efficiency, we have the International Resource Panel. And I highlight this because in some of these, there are smaller subgroups that look into urban issues specifically. The International Resource Panel, for example, has a cities working group, which is coming up with a new report looking particularly at how we can shift the use it more efficiently in the construction and in the planning of our cities. So I'd like to highlight that in this group, that in each of these we have specific subgroups looking at cities. We also have the Global Environmental Outlook, which is also going to have upcoming Global Environmental Outlook, which is also going to have a chapter on cities. So there's definitely a lot of bridging between science and policy right now.
Very good. Thank you, Sharon. That was a very helpful addition.
Let me add one more thing.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. When I wrote my book, Low Carbon Smart Cities and Tools for the Climate Resilience Planning, I also found there are many subgroups which concerned about climate issues and in the cities, but many of them are very fragmented and piecemeal approach. Therefore, what I would like to suggest in this conference is that we need some kind of umbrella approach to various climate issues in the cities. So my question is whether do you consider to suggest some kind of integrated approach to the climate issues in cities which embrace different kind of the activities, subgroups which are engaged in different the issues of cities, climate issues. That is rather I feel rather piecemeal the approach which have been conducted by different subgroups which belong to different bodies, international bodies. So how to integrate them and put them their effort together.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a very good question, and I feel this touches a little bit the discussion in the last year at the IPCC session here in Nairobi, that exactly this lack of this fragmented state of knowledge and of science and of bodies led to the renewed focus on cities and to this conference in general to bring these different groups together and I take stock of the current science and the current knowledge and so forth, and to identify gaps and needs that need to be addressed. So I could imagine that one outcome would be this recommendation you just had, that this is would follow a more integrated approach. But I also would think that discussing these questions would be an interesting topic for a session you could propose. So I think you're touching some of the fundamental questions in this field, and I would rather suggest that you try to bring this to the conference, this discussion, and try to discuss it with a number of scientists.
Thank you very much.
That's just my reaction. Maybe Sharon, you want to add something?
Well, I think that the fragmentation in efforts isn't only something that that is exclusive to sustainable urbanization. We find it in all of the other issues, especially environmental issues that we are looking at. There are some benefits to actually having parallel efforts happening, because there's just a lot of work to do. That's how I think about it. There's a lot of things to do. But yes, I would think and I would hope that as a UN agency, we would be able to support the coordination of these efforts. And I think this is a question really for the governments themselves on how best to use the UN agencies.
Very good, very good.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
If there are no further questions, I would like to again thank you for your participation, and there will be a number of webinars by our partners organized in the future. If you have other questions, please feel free to join them. Contact us directly. Otherwise, I wish you a beautiful day.
Please,
Goodbye.
please send me a contact point of different organizations which are engaged in this conference.
Okay, I think you all are seeing my screen now. I'm sharing the conference website. There's a session named Partners. You will see
Yes.
all the different partners involved.
I see.
There you will see the conference partners, and we have the organizing committee members. There you will find the different focal points from the different organizations. So you can contact the one closest to you, or you can contact any one of us for general inquiry.
Personally, will you give me your email address?
Of course, it's here. My personal
Thank you very much.
You will find it on the website. You can contact us any time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, then have a beautiful day and goodbye.
Thank you, Marcus.